Yes, yes, yes. Hello, everyone. You're welcome to our live session. So, guys, today we have a very interesting topic. Like we all know, Peter Obi and the Labour Party, together with Atiku, have all released their final address. And I tell you, just like our analyst said to me, that they are all juicy, as in we have so much packed for you guys, and I know you are going to enjoy this session as we take our time to break down what all these addresses are talking about, because no doubt our mandate is about to be recovered. So, guys, let me allow Dr. Tel to take over from me at this point. Dr. Tel, over to you.
In fact, well, good evening, audience, depending on where you are listening in from. I think we're going to have a very relaxed evening. This is my night here for us to just take time to savor and to just enjoy this. Remember when an APC and their candidate responded last week? I said that it was an empty essay, in that I've had the course of marking WIAC results. And there are some students that when they write their essay and you are using the marking scheme, you'd spot two things. Number one is that they are writing OOP out of points. And secondly, they're just filling the pages with nothing, because you have the marking scheme you have to look at and compare it with what they're writing. And others will just be haphazard in the way they do things. But there is yet another candidate when you're marking their script. And you know why? I don't know if they still do it now. Like, I know that I served somewhere in the north and I marked script of people who came all the way from Ogun State. So I was in the north marking the script of people from Ogun State. They always move it like that, just to show integrity. And I did it especially when I was doing my NYSC. So I did my NYSC and I was discharged, and I have my discharge certificate. So when I'm going to be a governor, you're free to ask if I forged my certificate. You know why I'm saying that. So there are other students, when you're reading their essay, they are just so beautifully organized. And aside from the fact that they're beautifully organized, you could compare it with the marking scheme. That's why some people come out with 9 A's, because they met the requirements, everything put together. And when I picked this, I was like, where am I going to start? Should I read the PDP own or the LP own? And then I said, okay, I know that PDP, almost everything they're doing it, quote and unquote, without knowing, they're feeding into our cause. And then I rushed to the one of Labour Party. But I said, okay, we are going to do something. Maybe from tomorrow we'll begin to mix it. But there are certain things that PDP pointed out in their final address that I want us to know this night, because it is more or less the foundation whereby I hope and I believe that the judges will rest everything. Honestly speaking, from my own hunch and conviction, I believe that except these judges are under external pressure or threats, the prayers of PDP, especially with respect to INEC's non-compliance, PDP is asking for the whole election to be cancelled. And I've said it times without number, really, that if the judges were to look critically to the Electoral Act, the regulations and guidelines, this election will be cancelled, because INEC completely tumbled the whole election upside down. And that's what PDP is praying. But before they came to that prayer, they laid some certain foundations. I don't know, there are some slides I sent. Anyone just starts as I send them so that we can read some of those things. These are like foundation. And why I say, okay, this is 1.02 and this is fantastic. I'm going to be reading from I'll be reading from my own device here. And it says, it must be borne in mind. It must be borne in mind. Remember that APC and their candidate, their counsel, when they were writing, they keep saying the intention of the law, the intention of the lawmakers, the intention of those who wrote the Constitution. That is, they were trying to tell the judges to bear in mind that they should have a certain reasoning in their mind when they're interpreting and when they're giving their judgments. And here is how these people presented their own. It says, it must be borne in mind, and we shall urge this honorable court to so hold that the Electoral Act 2022, the Electoral Act 2022 introduced, as was intended by the Parliament, is a new regime in election management and dispute resolution in response to the yearnings for an end to the perennial flawed election cycle, each cycle getting worse than its predecessor. And the Honorable Court shall be urged to adopt a very proactive approach to its interpretation of the new law and application of the new technology in order to stifle the principle of transparency and integrity, the bedrock of constitutional democracy. Gratefully, this Honorable Court, in the pre-hearing conference, stated that it will prefer substantial justice to technicalities in consideration of this matter. In accordance with the statement of the Supreme Court in Hope Democratic Party versus INEC in 2009, page 297 at 392, that election petitions are sensitive and parties should, as much as possible, be allowed to ventilate their respective grievances without asphyxiating their cases with technicalities. As held by the Supreme Court in Ikpeazu versus Oti and others in 2016. If you give me the next slide. Okay, let me finish the reading below. This is what the court says. Nowhere else is the need to do substantial justice greater than in election petition. For the court is not only concerned with the right of the parties, inter se, but the wider interest and right of the constituents. That is, this is not a matter of Labour Party versus PDP. It is also a matter of me. It's a matter of you Nigerians. It's a matter of all of us. So when maybe Labour Party or PDP are representing their own interests, they're also representing the interests of the wider Nigerians. The interests and rights of the constituents who have exercised their franchise at the polls. How do you feel as a Nigerian? You know how many Nigerians who came to say, oh, I didn't even see the polling unit result for my polling unit on IREV. Others came to say, no. They counted the result in our polling unit. This is the score of Labour Party. And when they finally uploaded it, they have cancelled it, they have changed it. So because we don't have the right to go to court as individuals, the people who represent us are our political parties. And so when the judges are doing something, according to the Supreme Court, they should not just consider those political parties, but people like us voters who voted and our result was not uploaded. Now, the question I want to ask to the audience today is, okay, so the question I want to ask here today is, do you think that what we read here now is not a very good reason that the judges should bear in mind? What is the intention of the new Electoral Act? Last week, I said in this particular channel that
Doc, please, sorry, I have to interrupt you. Can you just give a summary of what you read? Perhaps someone did not follow when you were reading.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. The summary of what I've read so far is this. The whole paragraph is trying to say, number one, the intention of the Electoral Act 2022 is to remove the the circle of abuse we have been getting in our electoral process, whereby after casting of votes and counting of the votes, by the time you get to the collation center, at the vote collation center, result has been hijacked, result has been manipulated. The introduction of the electronic system, whereby after the election is done, first and foremost, before going to the collation center to drop the result sheet, the result sheet must first of all be what? Uploaded on the IREV. So that when they get to the collation, if there is any manipulation on the way as they used to do it, they will catch that people. And they will make sure that that particular result that was uploaded from the place where the vote was cast is what will be relied upon. That is what the law says, and that is what this party is trying to say, that the judges must do what? Bear in mind. And if they bear that in mind, it does simply means that any other argument against the uploading of the result is completely null and void, because the only change in the Electoral Act 2022 from the Electoral Act 2010 is this electronic introduction to checkmate manipulation, to checkmate inflation of number when they come to the collation center. Give me the second slide while I'm talking. All right. So you see now that indeed, okay, the second one here is saying, and I read, just give me a second. It's so beautiful. It says here, the petitioner led evidence to show that the most prominent distinguishing factor of the Electoral Act 2022 is the clear expression of legislative intent to introduce technology in the conduct of election, and particularly in the collation of results. Collation happens from the ward, not even at the polling unit. It is common knowledge that the manipulation of result occurs not principally at the voting stage, but at the collation stage and in the collation process. This was the mischief the Electoral Act 2022 sought to cure by the introduction of technology in the collation process. It is between conveying the result from the polling unit to the ward and from the ward collation center to the local government collation center and from the local government collation center to the state collation center that the result sheets are hijacked. And so, how do we trap this hijacking of results? That was why this electronic system was introduced. Because it's like what happens now is, you see the way before, let me use this. Before we got mobile phone, we used to have NITEL in Nigeria, and there must be NITEL cable. Is it not true? Now, sure. If you talk, I can only call you if I have a phone and my phone is connected to the NITEL cable. If somebody can cut that cable, I won't reach you again. But now we all have mobile phones. We don't need cable. I can talk to you. We are in 3 different countries now as we are talking. People don't know, but we are in 3 different countries. There is no cable connecting us. That is what the electronic system in the voting was supposed to achieve. That after voting, those thugs that hijack the vote or bamboozle themselves inside the collation center and say you must change this result and shoot in the air and scare everybody apart. They can go there and be scaring people apart, and we can go home and sleep because we know that we have beat them in their game by first of all sending the result like an SMS into the IREV. Yeah. Now, if APC say that that is no longer necessary, or if any judge say that that is no longer necessary, the question the judge must answer, or the APC and INEC need to answer is, what have we achieved? Have we moved on from 2010 Electoral Act? We are back to square one. So $1 billion is useless. And remember that the European Union said, as at the day the election result, the presidential candidate was declared, that is only about less than 40% of the results that have been uploaded, meaning it is only about less than 40% of the result that was ready to be collated. And how can you declare results you have not collated? And how can 34%, is it 34, 36% of the result determine the presidency when about 60-something% have not been collated? How do we know that the person you declare the president is the president? That's the argument here. And so the big question is, which judge will say that INEC has a right? I keep saying it, and I've said it times without number. INEC is not making us any promise. INEC owes us a duty to fulfill the law. And the law is the Electoral Act. It's a statute. The president signed it into law. If there is any section of it that INEC chooses not to obey, they have defaulted. And the most important thing is that they defied every section of the law that has to do with the collation of result. How can you announce a result that was not collated? I think I've answered somebody who asked the question, why should the election be cancelled? I am not asking for the election to be cancelled. That's not what Labour Party is asking for. But indeed, the law is the law. The fact is there that INEC substantially abused the Electoral Act nationwide. In 2011, Nigerians, we all know that presidential election has started. And Professor Mahmoud Jega, is it Mahmoud Jega? Yes. Professor Jega, I can't remember his first name. Good.
Atahiru.
Atahiru Jega. What we have now is Mahmoud. Okay. He did what? He realized that logistic problem was going to impact the election. Logistic, election was going on. And he realized that, the election is going on here, but it's not going on in another place. He canceled it. President Goodluck Jonathan, who was the president then, had to enter the aircraft again and fly back to Abuja from Bayelsa, even though he had come out to vote. The election was cancelled. But in this particular case, people voted, and you realize that the election in itself cannot be collated because, according to you, there is a major glitch. And what did you do? You allowed it. Whereas the law provides even for you that you can go ahead and cancel the election for another 1 week. So give me another slide. Let's just read the third slide and see what. Okay, please, before the third, let me finish that slide. Okay, go ahead.
I wanted to ask a question because so many people have come out to say that INEC is not mandated to transmit results to the IREF. But we all know that. For me, I think the INEC chairman has that constitutional power to come up with any guideline that they want to follow.
Beautiful. You just nailed it. To come up with a guideline. And then they have a guideline. The law mandates INEC that if they so desire, they can produce a guideline. Section 38 of that guideline stipulates how the results after voting should be transmitted. It says electronically transmitted. The guideline is printed. The Mahmoud Jega does not have authority in law to verbally change that guideline. And any other Nigeria that says that INEC has a right, yes, they have a right, but the right they have cannot impeach the content of the Electoral Act because the content of the Electoral Act carries the president's signature. That one is binding on anybody. And all of them, from Mahmoud to the polling unit officer, they swore on oath to obey and to follow what is on the Electoral Act. And any other Nigeria that says that it does not matter have not read the Electoral Act.
Yes.
Section 47, Section 60, Section 64. They have not read it. Go and read it. I have them here. We have read it times without number. There is no way you could read it and you deviate from. Even president, why is it that the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria came publicly and showed Nigerians a new naira that he authorized the CBN governor to change? And the CBN governor said, we must stick to the plan. But some APC governors took the president to the court. And the Supreme Court quashed what the president and the CBN planned. Why? Did the president sack the courts? No. Did the president use army to destabilize the nation? No. The president, though he's a commander-in-chief, knew that when it comes to the matter of the law, when the Supreme Court talks, he must obey. So if the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria can step down his own policy because the court says so, and the reason why he will respect the court is because the Constitution mandated him to obey whatever the Supreme Court says. Who is INEC chairman to disregard the content of the Electoral Act or the guidelines that derives its power from the Electoral Act? Who says so? So all through last week, APC, they were all over, writing flowery language. There is no flowery language here. They are just showing you, this is what the law says. This is what the law says. This is what the law says. As simple as that. Now, let me finish reading this thing I was reading, part of that slide that you gave me. It said, just as was held by the Supreme Court, Paniki Toby, Justice of the Supreme Court, in Ugu and others versus Ararume and others in 2007. It says, one of the most useful guidelines to interpretation is the mischief rule, which considers the state of the law before the enactment. That is, the defect which the statute sets out to remedy and or prevent, the remedy adopted by the legislature to cure the mischief, and the true reason of or behind the remedy. The duty of a judge, therefore, is to adopt such interpretation that will enable the suppression of the mischief and to promote the remedy with the intent or intention of the statute. This English, do you know what it means? If there is existing law and you want to modify the law, there is always a need to say, why do we need to modify this law? What is it that is not good in this law? And now you define what is it that is not good in that law. And now you proffer the remedy. And so, okay, fine. This new thing we are putting here will checkmate this old thing we don't like. Like I rightly said here before, what was wrong with the Electoral Act 2010? We know, after voting and counting, the people without Wubi, the government officials with police and van will go to the collation center and hijack the whole thing and use their hand to rewrite the results. That was a mischief that was found as a loophole in the Electoral Act 2010. And Electoral Act 2022 said, let us cure this thing once and for all. Let's introduce this hybrid. Let's introduce this smart way of checkmating this crime. And they introduced the uploading of the results and the electronic verification, electronic, what do you call it again?
Transmission.
No, but the one you do before you are voted.
Verification.
No, not verification. That's not the right word. When you come, accreditation.
Okay.
Because before, everybody will come and say, politicians will use van to go and carry people from other cities. And all of them will come and stand and say, we are voters here. But now, by electronic process, if your name is not accredited, if your face is not identified, if your fingerprint did not go through, they knock you out. And then after the election, you have to transmit it or transfer it electronically because it will serve a purpose. In section 64, subsection 6 of the Electoral Act, I am not quoting any paper. I'm not quoting the Journal of Nigerian Politics. I'm quoting the law. Section 64, subsection 6 of the Electoral Act says, if during the collation process, that is at the ward center, there is an argument, somebody has torn a result, or somebody has cancelled someone's result, or someone has inflated someone's result, and somebody raises an objection, the only way to correct it and know the right thing is that the collation officer must have that physical result under contention, the beavers equipment, and now compare it with the one that is online. Even the so-called deputy director of INEC in charge of ICT used his mouth to say what I am saying now in Channels Television and Arise TV. So the question is, how is it possible to wriggle out of the dispute if there is no upload? The whole thing is impeached.
Sorry, if I may ask. Now, can you tell us the second point of what the PDP response is saying? You've mentioned the first one. You just read the second slide.
They took time to build this argument. Now, the second point they raise here, which is important and salient, if you go to their paragraph 5.15, I think from paragraph 5.15, paragraph 5.16 down to 5.17, they stated all these things you used to hear before. Oh, that INEC is assumed to be correct. It is now the duty of the person who is alleging to come and prove that INEC didn't do its work. He said, no, that is not what the Supreme Court says. The Supreme Court says that if you allege in positive, you will prove that you're right. But if you allege in negative, so what they have now done is to say, INEC, you have the beavers. You have the beavers. You have the your cloud. You have everything. For instance, look at the question they put here. They said, for the fact that till today, INEC, after spending $1 billion, have not even as much as asked Amazon what happened, or asked the manufacturer of the equipment what happened, or the programmer, shows that they are hiding something. And for the fact that INEC have now said in their written address that it is not a must that they use electronic, and APC had said before the election that it shouldn't be, means that there is a collusion in this place. Therefore, according to the precedent in the Supreme Court judgment, the burden is now on them to prove that what PDP and Labour parties are alleging, that they didn't do it. So that burden of proof has now shifted from Labour Party back to INEC. Because if you say that there was a glitch, you need to have that certificate to show we have run it and here is it. But for the fact they did not come, he said that even they didn't even bring any witness. The election held across Nigeria. People used beavers. People uploaded results. There were collation officers. They couldn't even bring one collation officer to come and testify. They are hiding something. And that the court should take note of the fact that they are hiding something. I mean, somebody says here, my question is, if 188,000 blood ECF forms is to be cancelled, then who will have the highest number of votes? The law, that's Larry. The law has its course. That was why Labour Party was smart to say, it is either this election is cancelled, or if you are going to allow it to go, we have to remove the results that are questionable and count only the one that is not questionable. And indeed, if this 18,088 polling unit result were to be removed, APC will collapse to number 3. And with the available result, Labour Party is shooting up to number 1. So if the first one did not go, the second one will go. So I think I've answered Larry. Is there another question? This thing is so rich and so juicy, like I said. Maybe. And there's nothing about the court until after 5 days, their final address, their adoption of addresses. This is what we really need to break down. And it is important that Nigerians, it sinks in their head, because why even a Nigerian would come and say, oh, I think INEC have rights, is because many Nigerians, not all, don't want to read, don't care to read. They just follow hearsay. Somebody say, the other person say, but this thing is a law, is a document that you could read and understand what is your right. It's printed. And like when there was someone I told, I said, I could simply respond to, I can close my eyes and respond to INEC. Because I just need to come to and say to the judges, hello, Judge, your lordship, Section 47, this is what it says. Section 60, this is what it says. Section 61 and 64, this is what.
I think we have a glitch at the moment.
Yes.
So if that happens, so the next thing you're going to ask is, so I will now say, INEC, please, can you tell the court how you fulfilled Section 47, Section 50, 60, Section 64? Because if you didn't fulfill it, you're a gunner. If you didn't fulfill it, just tell the world how you fulfilled it.
Can I ask another question? So, Doctor, like you said that the PDP directly or indirectly are helping the Labour Party. Please, can you just kind of itemize those points that they've written in their address that you think is really going to help Peter
Number
Obi?
one, if the APC candidate is disqualified, there will now be a recollation of results. And the person who meets the condition based on Section 134 of the 1999 Constitution will become the president. And that is if the court answers Labour Party's and PDP's prayer. That thing will fall. The person who will benefit of it is going to be Labour Party. It's just like if the court answers the prayer of APM in affirmative, it still falls on Labour Party to win. Because even PDP themselves use their mouth to remember to say that from their situation room in Lagos, and Labour Party won about 900 and something thousand votes. They admitted it. But INEC gave them 500,000 votes. So if that result of Lagos is to be recollated, who do you think is benefiting? But I am happy that almost all the prayers that Labour Party made, PDP made the same prayer. The only place they differ was on the issue of degree certificate. Labour Party did not include it in their prayer, but PDP included it. Now, assuming the 460,000 for future works, Labour Party benefits. Assuming the degree certificate works for PDP, Labour Party benefits. PDP is pleading that APC did not make 25% in Abuja. PDP themselves did not make 25% in Abuja. If it is upheld, who do you think is going to benefit? Because even according to law, it's not the second highest vote that will determine. It is the party that won the highest percentage of vote in more states. And Labour Party met that condition. PDP did not make that condition. So if the FCT law, the demand of FCC is upheld, Labour Party celebrates.
Okay, like the INEC address that came out, I think 2 days ago or so, they said Mr. Peter Obi could not prove that he actually won majority of the votes. Yes. How has this address now by the Labour Party addressed this point?
I have just told you the relevant precedent on the burden of proof. The burden of proof is, in this instance, before you are expected to go and bring the ballot papers and co. But being that, as it is now, electronically, the whole blame is now hidden on the electronic process. The burden of proof that you comply to the law has now been shifted to INEC. Okay, come and prove it. Even in the address, they did not say anything to show that they did what the law says. They were actually trying to avoid what the law said by saying that they have a right not to collate the results electronically. So they avoided these 4 sections of the law. And when that 4 sections of the law comes back, what do you think is going to happen? INEC is going to be blown, it's going to be crushed. So the era of the burden of proof, you don't need people. The burden of proof is on the beavers. The burden of proof is on the beavers. And INEC, you're holding the beavers. Show us the beavers. You say, no, I've done my work, but it is in the beavers. I will not release it. You have not done it.
Okay, INEC equally said that the date that the resignation for Shettima was equally penned down does not really has anything to do with what Peter Obi is saying, that the nomination date was not supposed to be INEC, that date that is stated.
But INEC themselves produced the certified true copy of the document they have, showing the day that APC came to submit their change. They showed that Shettima was submitted. They acknowledged it, even INEC acknowledged it, that Shettima's nomination was submitted on the 14th. And from INEC CTC, they also showed that the person that they replaced his name to be the Borno Central happened on the 15th. Replacement means you're pulling out and you're replacing this. So the argument here is between that 14th and 15th, as INEC was closing work on the 14th, Shettima's name appeared in 2 constituencies. Number 1 is vice presidential. Number 2 is Borno Central Senatorial. That is it. Somebody is saying, what happens if any of the judges resigns? I don't know what will happen, but it's going to be chaos. It's going to be obvious that the person is muzzled to resign. I really don't know, to be honest. There is someone who is alleging that if it happens, they may not form quorum again, and there will be need for them to start hearing again. I really don't know, to be honest. My own level of understand it has not gotten there. But as I said in one of our posts yesterday, why resign? Why not use your vote as a judge to show your conviction? It would be cowardice for anybody to resign under any circumstance. Everybody's under pressure on whatever you do. We being here today, we've had other things we've done, but because we wanted to educate the public, we are here now. Everybody, we're under pressure. So the judges, they know it comes with the territory. They should do their job. They should save Nigeria. The buck is on their desk to save Nigeria, and they should do it and do it proudly, no matter what it costs them.
Yeah.
So as regards to the forfeiture, INEC, because it was funny to see that INEC was even defending the APC in their address.
That
and
is
one of the,
Go ahead.
okay, one of the points that they listed in their address is on the forfeiture. They tried to say that it's more than 20 years, that a judge ruled over this case. I don't know how the PDP and the Labour Party have
You
addressed
remember,
these
you
points in their
remember
own address.
you remember in that section, I've forgotten that section, the 1999 Constitution, I think I could just call it up if you don't mind. There were 10 items there. 10 items there. The qualification to be elected president. You must the basis under which you can be disqualified. There were 10 items there. The first one of them is that you must not be a dual citizen. The other one is that you must have not committed a crime in any tribunal in Nigeria in the past 10 years. The other one is that you must have not committed a crime such as money laundering anywhere, in any court. It did not say Nigeria. So INEC is quoting the one that is referring to 10 years statute before it becomes statute bar, that has to do with tribunals in Nigeria. Whereas they forget that there is another one that is saying anywhere.
And no matter how long it must have taken.
No matter how long it has taken.
But from what I saw, Doctor.
Yeah.
Sorry. From what I saw, INEC is also claiming that since the court ruled outside Nigeria, that is not valid in Nigeria. I don't know how true that is.
Well, that is technicalities coming to play here. A question you have to ask yourself again is, what is the intention of the law? The intention is to bar someone who has a certain character from ascending the highest office of the president. And that is why you have to understand that if you forged a certificate in the US, for instance, when they ask if you forge a certificate in the US, if you come into Nigeria, it's still forgery. Okay, just take a look at it now. The FBI says they are not going to release the documents about so and so until 2026. What is in that document that FBI don't want to release? Can't you see that countries use the debts they have on other country leaders as a leverage? And that is what the Constitution is trying to avoid, so that we don't have someone in power whom other nations are going to be using as a leverage. So think about that.
But is it a good decision if they say
By
they don't
who?
want to? I mean, the FBI that has come out.
No. You didn't understand what I said. It's a leverage they have on Nigeria as a country now. They hold it so that when the president wants to cough, they will say, remember, we have something on you. Just do this and do that. Leaders can't talk boldly when they know that someone has something on them. You know that thing parents will do? Maybe your son does something and you call your son and say, you know what? This is going to be between me and you. I won't tell your mom. So you say, Daddy, thank you. Somehow or the other, it's a leverage. You know what I mean? The next time you look at him, you remember, I don't want Daddy to expose me. That's what they do to leaders. You know? So We need to cut it off here. Tomorrow, let's continue. We
I
can't
think
finish.
somebody
Even if,
asked a question. Maybe
what's
you
the
just
question?
take that. I don't know if there's anything to
Was he able to
you
prove
have
to
to
the
say
tribunal
here.
that he won the election? We have not seen the breakdown of the spread. Those things are in the mathematician's witness. He had it on his listing. Those witnesses that came, they have their written testimonies, sworn. Some of them are more than 100 pages. They will just ask them questions for 5 minutes. Those documents are there. The calculation, because remember that APC was saying that how can Labour Party be bold to go and begin to recalculate the result to show that it means that they are doing the job for the court. What is wrong in it? If the court finds that what they've done is consistent with what they would have done, they stamp it. Because to prove it, you have to show it. Just like what is happening in Enugu State. The Labour Party candidate of Enugu State, he did his own recalculation. He showed the polling unit where they removed his mark and how much votes they took from him, and he added it back and said, if this is added back, this is what I will have. He did it and he presented it to the court. Let PDP and INEC come to dispute it. Simple. So there is nothing wrong in it.
I think we have another question.
If the election is nullified and a rerun is ordered, who will chair the election commission? Mahmood? Well, the parties are already saying that they will. It is the parties that will now impeach this man, because if they have already have a vote of no confidence, the onus will be on an appointment of a new person. In fact, it's just that sometimes Nigerians don't even show remorse. Why is even Mahmoud still there? Why is he still there? Why is he still there? So I don't know, but whatever thing I am saying about this now, I don't see it in the law where they say, oh, if an INEC chairman did not conduct a good election and the election is the law in plain by the text of the law, he's still the chairman, it's still his responsibility. But the burden of conscience should be able to knock him off. But I don't know. But what we should be saying is, if the election is conducted 20 times and they did not comply substantially, should we keep canceling it? Why not until we get it right? So it doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't matter who is there, provided that the person is compelled to do the right thing. I don't care if it's Mahmoud that is there. I don't even care if it is the party chairman of APC that becomes, as long as that is why the law is there. That's why the law is there. Some people are Muslims, some people are Christians, some people are atheists, and we all work in the same office because there is a law that covers all of us, irrespective of your religion, isn't it? Since we have not seen LP written response, we're just wondering if it contains the mathematical breakdown. No, their response, they will refer to it. I have the LP response here. And you see, we are like doing summary, general, what they call in business writing, executive summary. There are certain segments of it that we're going to be breaking, getting the juicy, specifically the label from tomorrow. I have the LP response, I have the PDP response, we have them, but they're not going to attach. They will refer, when they are writing, they will refer to that exhibit number. They will refer to exhibit number. So that's what they do. But that's what someone just asked now.
Okay, Doctor, for the benefits of those who just joined us, we're about concluding. Can you just kind of make a very short summary of the PDP response and that of
in summary,
the Labour Party?
The PDP summary is situating the arguments as everybody, just like Labour Party too. Both of them are situating the argument in the same way. That the reason for the Electoral Act 2022 is to cure the malady we used to experience in our previous elections, whereby after the election, the vote is cast. In fact, there is a slide. Put that slide. There's a slide where INEC themselves said it. I think the third slide I sent you, put it there. They quoted them. INEC themselves recognized it in their manual. they quoted it. And both PDP and Labour Party quoted it, which means anything that will undermine this thing the law is trying to cure, it is an abuse of the law in itself. And that INEC deliberately and flagrantly abused it. And that there was a collusion, yes. This is it. This is what INEC wrote in their manual. INEC wrote this in their manual. And both Labour Party and PDP quoted it back to them. And that's the summary of the whole thing. Electronic transmission and upload of election result and publishing the INEC result and publishing to the INEC result viewing portal. One of the problems noticed in the electoral process is the irregularities that take place between the polling units after the announcement of result and the point of result collation. Sometimes results are hijacked, exchanged, or even destroyed at the PU or on the way to the collation center. It becomes necessary to apply technology to transmit the data from the polling unit such that the results are collated up to the point of result declaration. The real-time publishing of polling unit level results on IRF portal and transmission of results using the beavers demonstrates INEC's commitment to transparency in result management. This commitment is backed by sections 47, subsection 2, 60, subsection 1, 2, and 5, 64, subsection 4A and B, and 64, subsection 5 of the Electoral Act. So I'll stop here. What does that tell you? INEC themselves says that upload to IREV for the purpose of collation is backed by these sections of the law. But INEC came back in their own final address and says it does not matter. INEC, what it means that INEC used their mouth to say that these sections of the law are nonsense. We don't need it, it's useless. The president shouldn't have signed it because it is immaterial as long as they are concerned. The question is, which judge will discountenance these sections of the law? We end like that. Tomorrow, we break down the rest on forgery, on forfeiture, and other things. Okay?
Yes, thank you very much. Although somebody dropped the question here, I don't know if
it says, how come PO lawyers not present their own final result from their own polling agent? I mean, what else do you expect them to do? They brought the PU agent to testify to that effect. And the last witness came to identify all those evidence and the document they submitted. It is based on those documents that they submitted that the mathematician also relied to do their own computation. The lawyers are there to present evidence. And they have done just that.
Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you so much for this analysis. No doubt we are taking something home today. So guys, thank you very much for those of you that joined us. Please do well to equally join us tomorrow because on a daily note, we do have our live session. We enjoyed your company today. Please join us tomorrow again and thank you for your time today. God bless you. Bye. Gloria,
Bye.
good night.